I'm Cassidy McKee. I'm 18 years old and I just graduated from La Cueva High School. I will be headed to Dallas to continue my education at Dallas Baptist University, where I plan to study elementary education. I just returned from my 3rd year at Fine Arts. I've been a dancer my whole life, and Fine Arts has given me the unique opportunity to praise God through dance, which is something really rare in the dance world. Through Fine Arts, I've also been able to branch out and try new things that I never imagined I could do, like short sermons, human video, and even singing. I've been in church my whole life, and I've always loved Jesus. So when I first started coming to Copper Pointe, I immediately jumped into the Fine Arts program. Through Fine Arts, I've made some of the best friends and greatest memories. I wouldn't trade them for anything. My first 2 years of Fine Arts, I mainly just focused on the dance side of things. But this year, Pastor Dustin basically forced me to try a short sermon. I literally had no desire to. Preaching wasn't a part of my calling, so why would I want to spend hours of time writing and practicing a sermon that wasn't going to bring me benefit? But Pastor Dustin saw something in me that I didn't see in myself. I always thought I was just going to be a kindergarten teacher. But through this experience of preaching my short sermon, I have a strong desire to work in ministry, and I can't wait to see where God takes that in my future. I've performed on the stage many times before, but stepping on stage this weekend is so special to me because I wouldn't be here if I hadn't been pushed and allowed God to use me in ways I never could have imagined. It's also special to me because it's my last weekend here at Copper Pointe. In fact, I'm getting in the car and driving to Dallas to start school as soon as I finish the last service. Copper Pointe has been my home for 4 years and will always have a special place in my heart. I love you guys, and I already can't wait to be back.
I held a baton in my hand just like I do right now. It was the first track meet of my first season of the sport freshman year, and my coach had just handed me the baton and told me I was going to run in the 4x4 relay. I thought he was absolutely crazy. The 4x4 is the most competitive racing track, and I was supposed to run it? Yet, having no idea what this race would have in store, I found myself in the starting blocks, baton in hand, waiting for the gun, because I had faith my coach knew what he was doing. Hebrews 11 contains almost 24 examples of Old Testament men and women who fulfilled God's calling in their life. It was their faith in God and unwavering commitment to that calling that he had placed that makes them known as the heroes of faith today. Their assurance in what they could not see allowed them to finish what God needed them to do, even though many of them never got to see what would come about from their faithfulness. These men and women are esteemed because they had a confidence in their calling that led to a lasting legacy. So what does it mean to have a confidence in your calling? Well, take Abraham, for example. The calling he received was to be the father of many nations. In fact, Jesus was a descendant of Abraham. The Lord promised Abraham in Genesis that he would have offspring as numerous as the stars, and he had 2 sons. Abraham didn't get to see the nations he created. He never got to see the end of God's plan for him. Going back to Hebrews chapter 11, verse 39 says he was commended for his faith, but did not receive what had been promised. But he had faith so great. Faith enough, he was willing to sacrifice what was to be the start of this promised nation, and he knew God had a greater plan than he could imagine. You see, God's calling on your life is also God's promise for your life. Even when things seem bleak, do you, like Abraham, trust in the Lord and have a confidence in your calling? Because it is only those that do that leave a lasting legacy. Although she isn't mentioned by name in the passage in Hebrews, Esther shares many of the same characteristics as the heroes of faith. Even through facing death, she had faith in the Lord and successfully completed her part of God's greater plan. And what a greater plan it was. Think about it. If Esther hadn't saved the Jews, Jesus never would have been born. Her calling as she knew it was to save the Jews, but her calling as God knew it, her lasting legacy, was to help save the world. I had a teacher this year whose story of strength and unwavering faith in God is an inspiration to each and every student with whom she comes into contact. 3 years ago, she was diagnosed with breast cancer. Even through chemotherapy and other treatments, she came to school as often as she could and always had a smile on her face. In October, we celebrated as a class her 2-year anniversary of being cancer-free. In January, she came to class and told us she had been re-diagnosed. This time was stage 4 breast cancer. Through her tears, through her pain, she told us, a class in a public school where God is all but banned, that she had faith more than ever and that nothing would take it away from her. She doesn't know what legacy her faith through this storm is leaving or whose life it could be changing. She doesn't know why God is allowing this to happen to her. But she has not, and I am confident she will not give up on her faith or her calling to be a light to her students. I thought she was going to teach me about math. Instead, she has taught me how to have faith even when it seems like the world is crashing down. We can't always see what God is doing in our lives or how his plan will conclude. Our finished isn't necessarily God's finished. You see, life is just like a relay race. You have your race to run, but you also have to pass the baton. Paul finished his race, but he passed the baton, and his legacy still lives today. And just like in races, you can't always see what's around every corner, and there might be hurdles in your path. You just have to have faith in the coach and that he knows what he's doing. I want to ask you today, what is your calling? Or maybe more importantly, can you even fathom the legacy you're going to leave? Are you willing to run the race even if you can't see the end? Are you willing to listen to the coach, no matter how crazy it sounds? Philippians 1:6 says to be confident that what God starts in you, he will carry on to completion. He promises a finish. But it also says he will carry it on to completion until the day of Christ Jesus, and we don't know when that is. We must have confidence in God's calling on our life and that he will fulfill his promises. He did it for Abraham, he did it for Esther, he's doing it for my math teacher, and he will for you. Can you keep the faith? Will you finish your race?